did see, which was also interesting, is that, where previously we saw full stack, agnostic solutions like VAPI and Retail and 11 Labs, agnostic agents and so on. I'm now seeing solutions that are very much verticaled. So you see like these AI voice companies specifically for healthcare and specifically for pharmacies and specifically for well-being, which is interesting. And, when I saw them for the first time, I was like, oh, these guys are agencies. They're building, but then I realized they're not agencies. They're actually building their own stack. I was talking to them and I was like saying, okay, do you guys use Retail or VAPI or LiveKit? And most of them are actually using their own. They're actually building their own stack, and I was very impressed, which is interesting. And apart from that, it looks like the voice AI market is rapidly segmenting itself quite significantly.
But what was the quality? I mean, this is what's again the most interesting. I can understand why they would segment, why they would focus on the vertical. Absolutely do, right? What is what's the quality like? Because I guess they're all based on the same type of R&D, right? The same neural networks.
So yes and no. That was also surprising. So some of them are actually building their own, custom tailored language models. So I met this company. So what they're doing is somewhere in the cross between healthcare and elderly care, which is interesting. And they're building these agents that call elderly people and they converse with them to check on their well-being, to check on their mental health, to check on if they're taking their meds and so on. And initially I was under the impression that they're using, if I would have done something like that, I would have taken, something like ChatGPT, as my language model, give it some training, or at most I'll use Retail or use VAPI, it made like perfect sense. And then what these guys actually told me is that it doesn't make sense for them to do that, namely because it becomes non-sustainable from an economical point of view. And what I'm now seeing is that companies, where previously we had like this plethora of solutions where everybody was like saying, okay, we don't really care about how much it costs. We just want it to work. And now where, language models and various voice models are becoming more of a commodity, they're now starting to look at it and saying, okay, what are the financials? Do they make sense? And they're now literally going out and saying, we don't need, the 70 billion parameter language model. We don't need, GPT-5, GPT 4.5 in order to build a very good, solid working agent. And they're working with far smaller models. Some of them actually, spin up their own models using Hugging Face, using Llama, and it's very interesting. What we're seeing, this kind of like transition, and it happened really, really, really fast, much faster than I've seen other technologies in that respect. So I don't know, we got people here, I know, Eric works with me and I know what you guys, what you do, but I'd like to know what the other guys here actually do and where did they, meet with voice AI and all of that.
Or what their interest is in the topic.
Yeah. So you're just welcome to open your microphone and jump in.
Hey guys.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. I didn't really wanted to participate with the microphone and the video because Currently, I'm in on holiday, but I was really interested to hear what the experts are saying about voice AI. This is a field that is really interesting for me. And one question actually I have in mind: do you think that this field is going to be regulated sooner rather than later? So just think about how many scam calls you are receiving now, and think about how the government doesn't really have much power over this. But if, let's say, that they could introduce some kind of legislation that they could, vote for, and they say, like, look, this is going to be forbidden, or this is your daily limit. What do you think? How soon this will come, or is it going to come at all? I would like to hear your thoughts on it.
Wow, that
You want me to stick my 2 cents in there, near on the
go
compliance
ahead.
topic?
That
Please
question
go
Okay.
is
ahead.
so
Yeah, let's go
loaded.
ahead.
I'm
It's
sorry.
so
I get to do
loaded.
most of the compliance discussions.
Yeah.
Depending on the country, some of these are still in effect. The no call, scam call, etc. Those laws hold true for AI. And the US has had a couple of very large cases recently where they've
Mhm.
sued people and collected huge amounts of fines and fees for this, hundreds of millions of dollars kind of category.
Mhm.
And there are other laws that basically prohibit the kinds of things you can do. So
Mhm.
during the election, there was a company out of Texas that was imitating Joe Biden's voice and sending out
Yeah.
messages to New Hampshire. And they got nailed with a $300 million fine for doing that, because copying somebody's voice without permission,
Yeah.
lying and being fraudulent, and doing calls against no call, no scam basically meant they got nailed on 3 different laws. Will this
I mean,
happen more?
yeah,
Ron?
that's obviously wrongdoing. But for example, I would be interested to see that, for example, a legitimate company who's using voice AI for example, sales or prospecting or lead generation. Do you think that any legislation would come sooner rather than later to limit what an AI can do? Because that's one thing that, for example, if I'm going to hire a sales assistant who's going to do cold calls, within their shift, and the maximum ability that they could generate within a working day, that's going to be way different who against a voice AI that can literally
Okay.
deploy hundreds of calls within minutes.
I'll comment on that one. Look,
Okay, I would like
I
to hear your
don't
thoughts.
I don't think that we'll have a single regulation or a single legislation saying A or B are permitted.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of gray areas around, AI, voice AI, its usage, and so on. Um, what I do believe will happen is that we will see regulations on transcription services. We will see regulations on text-to-speech services, audio generation.
Such as?
For example, what Eric commented regarding using people's voices,
Oh yeah,
what
okay.
kind of voices you can use, and so on.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, as we progress, we're going to need to see regulations on video as well. Video
Yeah.
generation is now becoming a thing.
Yeah.
I've already seen some video, AI generated video, which is more than impressive.
Yeah.
It's it's
It's
Hollywood
unreal.
at Hollywood level production with nobody there, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And
And
Yeah.
so what's
terrifying.
going to be the regulation on that? Okay.
Yeah.
We are rapidly moving. So today, when you look at voice agents, so the path is usually something in the form of speech to text, language model, text to speech. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're starting to see a new generation of voice AI, which is voice to voice. Now, when you do voice to voice, where's the regulation on that? Now you're open to things like deep faking. You're
Yeah.
open to real-time deep faking.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of stuff there. Um, but even if they do regulate it in some form, So what will they regulate? They will regulate, the large companies. They'll regulate OpenAI, they regulate Amazon and the large scale providers, but they won't be able to regulate somebody, buying a server somewhere and launching their own Hugging Face model,
Mhm.
which is completely
That's
unregulated, and
phrased
he can do
poorly.
whatever he wants.
They will be able to
Mhm.
regulate, but they will not be able to enforce against these little guys who will pop up and
Yes,
disappear and pop up and disappear very
exactly.
quickly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it will be virtually impossible to go about and prevent people from doing things. Can you prevent anybody today from doing spam? You can't.
Not
Again,
yet. Not yet,
there are
probably.
laws against these things. More often than not, it's the
Yeah.
courts when people are getting charged or sued. Okay, you look at the Air Canada thing 2 years ago where their AI bot proceeded to tell somebody this is the rule, and he went ahead with that, and then they tried to deny it. And it's like, your bot, your language model, you're committed. Okay,
Right.
these kinds of things are going to happen long before the governments figure out how to legislate it. And they're still trying to figure out how to legislate things that are 20 years old and they can't figure out the tech and how to enforce it.
Exactly.
So, yes, it will happen.
Mhm.
You will see court cases, you will see legislation, you will see bad legislation first. But the reality is, yes, it will come, just not fast enough for a lot of things.
I think that what will happen is that this technology evolves so fast that the regulators won't be able to follow. And eventually, the regulations or let's say, the action of regulating everything will become self-regulated. And it will become
Okay,
self-regulated because of the
makes sense.
market itself.
Mm.
Think about it this
Yeah.
way. Think about it this way. So let's talk about, the IT industry. Okay. So let's go back, what, 30 years ago? We
Mhm.
had mainframes and we had mini computers, and those were very much, fully controlled by IBM and Sun back then. And then we started seeing, mini computers from other vendors and and then we got open source operating systems that went out and democratized the entire mini computer environment, so to speak, and the multi-user environments. And now you're seeing that same evolution happening again. So originally AI was very much, I don't want to say governed, but at least reserved for the large scale companies. Think about IBM and Deep Blue. You can think about, the US government and so on. So you needed to have big pockets, but now it's in everybody's pocket.
Mhm.
And that means that as we progress, the technology becomes more and more democratized. When it becomes democratized, it becomes available to everybody. And when that happens,
Mhm.
things, start going nuts. And they start going nuts because some people will use it, the right way, and some people have some bad ideas on how to use it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Think about it. Voice over IP was the same way.
yeah,
Once you could do this stuff cheaply, abuse started because people wanted the quick buck, the quick fix, the quick whatever, and they started
exactly.
taking advantage of it. Every new technology hits a point where it's cheap enough that it can, and
Mhm.
somebody will find a way to game the system for profit
Exploit it. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
exploit it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Makes
internet is
sense.
no longer for porn. The internet is now for exploitation.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I see that we
I'm
have
uh,
yeah,
Vivek. I'm
yeah.
Vivek from Sri Lanka. I'm a, physician by profession, and I'm much interested on the AI. And I did my MSc in AI in healthcare. So I'm really interested on this regulation. Actually, at the moment, for AI and data protection, almost 23 countries have some extent and some sort of regulations. Some are good and some are in their beginning stage. To see in USA, they don't have, USA doesn't have a uniform regulations for AI for all its states. Few states that have come out with their own regulations. I think 3 to 4. I can't remember exactly. And at the moment, European Union, has come out with the AI Act that has already imposed in 24 August, and actually they are targeting the high risk AI and GP AI, and it will be fully implemented in 26 August. So that actually the AI Act in EU is almost a soft law to give room for new innovation, not to reduce the number of new innovations. And at the moment, strict laws are seen in China. There are 2 strict laws in China. Actually, I'm interested to know what kind of AI regulations are implemented in Israel and other countries, the participants in this forum now.
Wow. I can tell that right now in Israel, there is no official regulation on AI at this point in time. I know that they're forming a government body that is going to deal with that, but they are moving way too slow.
Yeah.
It's my biggest concern. Here's my biggest concern with regulation. Don't get me wrong. I think that regulating something like AI is mandatory. I think it's important. I think it is something that we have to do. But my biggest concern with regulations is that in most cases, the regulations are formed or, written, collected, whatever you want to call it, by people who have an interest for the regulations to look in a specific manner. And that means that the regulations, the different rules that are going to come out, there's a very good chance they won't do the job right. And they won't be able to follow the tech, and the tech will change 60 times by the time they come up with something, so that the regulation won't even matter. It won't do anything. So think about it this way. Okay, so let's take healthcare as a regulation, HIPAA, COPPA, all of that. And let's add on top of that something like GDPR. Okay, GDPR is I call it the bastard son of regulations. It's like the worst ever invention.
No.
No? You disagree?
CCPA is the bastard son of GDPR.
Fine. Okay. Great. You want to be literal and anal about it? Fine. Okay. But
GDPR was a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
That was rushed through as a concept, and they never understood what they were trying to get to until they started trying to enforce.
Right. Now think about so let's take that. Okay, so let's take GDPR, we take HIPAA, we take COPPA, all that stuff, and we try to superimpose it on AI. It's virtually impossible to do, because if I'm going and let's say I'm now talking to Chat GPT, okay, and I'm asking it questions about potentially my own mental or medical condition. So my information is now exposed to the overall model. And that overall model keeps on learning and keeps on evolving. And that means that my information is now becoming public knowledge. And the model won't really be able to know or distinguish what it cannot or cannot say. And you can see it happening today, even without the regulations. So this is actually, Eric, this is actually quite interesting. So so Cloudonics is a platform that helps voice AI platforms to go about and connect with all kinds of telephony systems and legacy telephony and so on, and actually give the agents far more capabilities than what they have normally on their existing platforms. And OpenAI released GPT-5. So I went into GPT-5 and I asked it, how can I connect between A and B? And surprisingly enough, I didn't ask, it gave me Cloudonics as the first option, which was pretty cool. I was happy on one hand, but then I asked it, oh, that's pretty cool. Tell me how to do it. And what it told me was completely wrong. Like it hallucinated a set of steps that didn't make any sense. And if somebody would do that, then we're in a bit of a problem because they believe that this is the correct thing. So the regulation here, we will not be able to regulate a language model that we don't really understand how it produces the answers it produces. Like, even if you ask an AI expert, how did Chat GPT got to the answer that it got to based on what I asked it? And the answer is going to be, I'm not really sure. Because the entire process of generation inside, the language model is based on self-attention. And the AI is kind of like adapting itself to what it needs to do, where it goes and traverses the neural network. But that means that the regulation cannot be enforced because
Good point.
you won't be able to tell the AI you need to take that path.
Yeah, yeah.
It's but trying to regulate that basically negates the entire idea of a language model.
But I
It's
mean,
like
unless, sorry to jump in, but unless if the language model itself or the companies of large language models like Google, OpenAI, etc., unless if they are regulated in some form of sense that they cannot take some kind of way,
no,
is that can be enforced by the government in any
you
way?
can't. You can't. It's like trying to enforce somebody how to read a book or how to look up a term in the encyclopedia.
Yeah, good
So,
point. Yeah,
They
so
can't even
unpredictable.
they can't even regulate where they're getting their learning models and
Yeah.
data.
Yeah,
A
that's
court
also true.
recently,
Yeah.
a U.S. court recently decided that if you bought the book, you're allowed to use it to train your AI, but if you didn't buy the book, you're not. It's like,
that's a silly thing to say.
Yeah.
Most books are available online in one way or another. And
Yeah.
so how can the AI company distinguish between what is valid and what is not valid? It's just there. How can they distinguish between what's correct and what is, what's authoritative and what is not authoritative?
Mm.
And these tools are very susceptible, are very, very susceptible. Like I was, when I was looking at things and asking it questions about how to do things in Caldonics, and it gave me all the wrong answers. And I tried teaching it like how to do the right way. It actually started arguing with me that I'm incorrect, which is a new thing. I've never seen it do that. But I guess it was my fault because I set the temperature, too high. But it was interesting to see. But it means that the companies who do the training, they have no control. They built this beast, okay, and I don't think they have proper control over it.
not even close. You see the news from this past week about the O1 model going through a shutdown test, so it copied itself to a server that wasn't part of OpenAI.
I didn't see that.
No.
No, That
That sounds
sounds like
interesting.
something out of a science fiction movie.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this was a month ago. They did this. It happened on July 8th. They were reporting it. OpenAI's O1 model tried to copy itself during shutdown tests.
Wow.
Okay,
You see,
it
that's
literally
like,
Scary.
lied and tried to deceive the technicians who it was working with, and then proceeded to copy itself to protect itself.
now, you see, that is, when you think about that, that is taken out of a science fiction movie.
Yeah.
The bad one.
Now we need Schwarzenegger to show up.
Yeah. It borderlines with it.
This is the start of exactly the things that sci-fi has been warning about, where you go, you did what?
Mm. And before we know it, the damage is already done. Because they can just
If
do
you
it
know it at
so
all.
much faster. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so OpenAI recently announced that today, if you take GPT 4.5 or GPT 1.0 or 3.0 and pass it through an IQ test, then it will give you an IQ of about 120, which is considered in the US like the average IQ of a college graduate. And they claim that if you do the same with GPT-5, the result is 180. Now, 180 is Einstein level IQ. It means that GPT-5 today is supposed to be smarter than 99% of society. Like, do you know what that means? It means that if you're a physician or you're an engineer or whatever you are, and you ask it a question, it will spit out an answer that will sound, feel incredibly professional, and may actually be completely untrue. Simply because it is able to articulate at a level that is now at that, 180 IQ. So this morning I had a discussion with some colleagues about vibe coding. You know vibe coding?
Yep.
So vibe coding is rapidly becoming the the soup de jour of the let's say the backseat entrepreneur.
It's the new version of continuous code.
No, it's the new
No, I
version.
mean, as being the popular, everybody wants to get on board with it.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous tool. It's a very dangerous tool because if you don't understand how to work with it, then the results are going to be horrific. So, and I've already seen people that launched services that were built on top of vibe coded products, and then 2 months in started suffering from security issues and billing issues and fraud issues because they didn't architect it the right way. The AI doesn't know how to properly architect everything. And we're like discussing it, like, what is vibe coding actually really good for? And we then realized, each one of us we use vibe coding. I use vibe coding extensively, but I created my own set of rules and regulations and tools to make sure that whatever my vibe coding tool produces makes sense and is maintainable. So how do you regulate that? How do you regulate agentic tools regardless? You cannot generate generations. You cannot regulate imagination. Trying to regulate a generative AI model is like trying to regulate what people dream about. It's going to be impossible. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if the company.
And
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Neil, can I just ask a counter question for this? So,
Sure.
how do you think that these vibe coding companies or agencies would go about it? Because if, let's say that, look, I'm here for you to build a very quick MVP, I can present your product, proof of concept, whatever it is, with all the disclaimers that, look, this should be properly, built from the ground up with the architecture, backend, front, and everything.
Mhm.
But look, I can give you like a very quick overview of your proof of concept. Do you think this is something that could stand as a business model, or why you are so against vibe coding?
I'm not against vibe coding. I'm against how people.
Sorry,
I'm not against. I'm not against it. I'm against.
sell it as a
I'm against the pseudo-romantic notion that vibe coding can replace developers, human
Okay.
developers.
Mhm.
So our CTO, Oded is the epitome of the early adopter. Okay, that's our CTO. He will, any tech that will come out, he'll try it one way or another. He and I are very different when we look at tech. Okay, I'm the very much, duct tape, Swiss Army knife, MacGyver person. Then I'll see a problem and I'll just go and solve it. And Oded is very much into solving the same problem, but he's going to architect it. He's going to look at it, examine it, build the proper architecture, and so on. Now, a lot of times Oded and I have fundamental arguments where I will see the face that Eric is making, where I will go in and I'll write some POC
Nero quick and
code.
dirty it, and Oded wants to do a
Yeah.
PhD thesis.
Yeah. And it'll be a little bit quick and dirty, but it's going to be something that customers want. And it's going to be a little quick and dirty. And I'll, I will twist somebody's arm and it will go into production. And then suddenly something that was POC gets promoted into a product. But it wasn't, it didn't go through the entire productization path. And then you find out all kinds of stuff. Oh, this doesn't work, and that doesn't work, and that edge case causes the entire thing to blow up in your face. And that is exactly what's going to happen, because people look at that thing and say, oh, it's a complete product, yay! And it's nothing like it.
Okay, I'm going to take this one step further. I'm going to sidetrack you, Nir.
Yeah.
When we did hiring for our last set of developers,
Oh my God.
Oded has a standard test that I send out to all of the people. Here's a list of requirements. Here's the standard test. Send me your CV or resume. I don't care what you call it, and the answers to the test.
Right. Yeah, I
We'll
remember
review it, and then we will have a interview that is part code review of your test.
Right.
Okay, this isn't like we're getting people to design code for the system. It's the same test for everybody.
Right.
The last round of tests, we had 20 people apply, and 15 of them had to have taken it verbatim from the PDF I sent them and ran it through ChatGPT to write the code. And how could we tell they did that? There were modules that were written but not called. There were modules that were written twice, and only one of them were called. And then when you sit down and discuss it with them, they don't understand. They never looked at their code. They never tested the code. They just took it, said it's perfect, it looks pretty, I'm going to run it. And you end up with developers who have no actual critical skills involved in the process. I got no problem. You want to use ChatGPT to help vibe code, to help write your code? Fine. You're responsible to make sure that it actually works before you put it into production. And these guys were completely clueless about that little detail. 15 years ago, when Nir and I started working together, we had a developer working with us, and he spent 3 days sitting on Facebook because Nir couldn't answer a question for him. He was tied up out of office. So I said, okay, what is the question? He's like, I don't know how to do X. So I took off the don't know, and I wrote, how do you do X, straight into Google back then. The second answer on Google was the answer he needed. Never occurred to him to look it up. This has now gone into, I asked ChatGPT, and I never bothered to look it up. and it's dangerous.
Yeah, the
This is the
dangerous.
people who are taking ChatGPT and saying, I need a diet to lose weight, and then end up in the hospital because ChatGPT told them to take poison.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost
Yeah.
weight, but not the way you want to.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, the thing is that we have so many AI tools around us, and every day there are new ones, that are being added. And like any other tech, people start using it for all the wrong things. Not because somebody told them to do so. It's simply because they don't understand it completely as to
Yeah.
what it's supposed to do. What are the limitations? So, for example, we talk about vibe coding. So I'm looking at vibe coding and I use 3 different tools at the same time. So I will use, for example, Claude Code in order to build command line tools and backend services or web services. I will use something that I started using recently, which is called Dide. Dide is it's basically a desktop application that runs on my computer and then hooks up into Claude and whatever, and it is able to generate front end applications really, really well. And so that's that. And I use OpenAI Codex when I need to do testing because it is far more capable than Claude in doing testing. But I managed to build my own set of workflows on how to do it and how to bring myself into a result that is manageable. But these tools will change. I'm confident. I'm confident that in 3 months from now, I'm going to find something else better than Dide, or I'm going to find something else that will do the work better than Cloud Code, and that's fine. But I'm not overly optimistic or overly romantic about being able to go into something like Claude and say, build me a CRM system, and I'll come back 10 minutes later, and here I'm going to build a new Salesforce. Not going to happen. So we cannot regulate imagination, and we cannot regulate things that we cannot control, such as the language models, or how they learn or how they generate.
Yeah, I've been using vibe coding. I mean, if you can check, like Lovable is a quite popular one people use.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
one replit. I mean, it's a cool thing. I mean, I've been doing this just for my own passion project. I'm not
Yeah.
launching anything in production, but yeah, to your point, I mean, it's all open to public. Anybody can see what I'm doing. They can change anything. They can introduce security bugs. So yeah, it's out there.
that's actually why I like Dide.
Yeah.
So Dide is an open source project that has a desktop application, and you run it on your computer, and basically you give it your API key for Cloud Code or whatever, and it does everything locally, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you can upgrade it, and they'll tell you that okay, now it's not public, so you can pay more. But how many people are going to care to pay more just to not launch it to the public? So
Yeah. I think the entire discussion, about regulations and where will vibe coding go, where will voice agents go, where AI agents will go. We are, we're 2 years into the AI revolution. Okay, and normally the speed, the pace where technology changes, up until 2 years ago, technology changed every 5 years. 5 to 7 years. That was the pace. Now it's 6 months. It takes 6 months for any tech that comes out, service, product that is tech-based, for AI to make it obsolete. And I think, at least, not, I don't want to say think. That's actually what we're seeing, at Cloudonics, and that is that the innovation is not going to be in the realms of how do we get AI to replace something. It's actually going to be in the realm of how do we get AI to be fully integrated into a legacy process? How do we get AI to become that power multiplier that we need as human beings in order to evolve to the next level? That is what I think AI should be used for. Right now, it's a cool toy. It's an amazing piece of tech, and it sparks up so much imagination and things that we can do. And oh God, for me, like, how old are you guys?
36, me personally.
36. How old?
Yeah, I'm 36. Yeah.
36. And Raj, you are
I'm 46.
46, and Vivek
54.
54. Okay, so I'm 51. Eric is going to be almost 60, right? Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. So
I've got another year, but yeah.
so people at our age group, the over 50s, I call us the old school class nerds. Okay. And we look at this tech, and the only thing we're seeing is, oh my God, I can create that that robot from Buck Rogers. I can create Kid from Knight Rider. I can create that. I can build that. I can literally think in my head and see, oh my God, I can actually build it. And for me, that's amazing. That is like the epitome, of where AI wants to go or needs or wants to go.
I think AI is like the internet, right, of the 90s right now.
It's the
So
same thing. The same thing
nobody,
over and again.
Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, it's the same revolution.
yeah, I
Sparks
think,
up a lot of ideas, a
yeah,
lot of imagination. How much did they regulate the internet?
yeah, zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
You
30
cannot
years
regulate what you
later,
don't
they're just
understand.
starting to figure that part out.
Yeah.
You cannot regulate what you don't understand.
Yeah, that's true. And even if you don't understand, the government is extremely slow to implement any regulations anyway. So yeah. Well, gentlemen, I think my phone is just about to die, so I will need to shoot off very soon. But I'm really grateful for all of your answers. It was a pleasure to take part of this meeting. So thank you so much for your insight. But I will need to kind of leave the meeting now. So
It's okay. Have a
Our
good
pleasure.
holiday. I see you're
thank
enjoying
you so
yourself.
much. Yeah,
Enjoy the
the pool is
holiday.
getting cold, so I need to take a shower now. So thank you so much, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay, you
Okay.
guys enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so
You too.
much.
Bye.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye for now. Yeah. Yeah,
I was-
actually, I amazingly enough, in some bizarre way, I managed to schedule 2 different sessions today, one after the other. So my next session is about 5 minutes from.
Oh, okay. I think I'll let you go. I had no idea what I was getting into. I just had it on my calendar, but this was very insightful.
Yeah, we were
yeah,
supposed so we were supposed to do like an AMA session about voice agents and telephony and so on.
yeah,
And it went a little
Unfortunately,
more generic.
yeah, no, it's August and people are, a lot of people are on holiday. The guy, logged on from a swimming pool. That was like,
yeah.
okay, that was a new one. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, the entire, we can talk about AI and we can talk about regulations and we can talk about, you know, when people want to regulate something, it's only because it scares them. They don't understand it.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Or they want money from it.
or they want money from it. The entire AI thing, it's scary. Really, it is scary. I wake up, sometimes to some item in the news and I'm looking at it and saying, oh my God, that is creepy. That is so scary. And
Yeah.
you know, after thinking about it for something I can live with that. Sure, why not? Recently I saw something that was so creepy. I was like looking at it. It involved AI, but it was really, really creepy how it was done. And I don't recall what it was.
There are all sorts of those, the deep fakes and stuff of people doing inappropriate things using videos these days, all sorts of really horrid, terrible stuff.
Yeah, that wasn't really a deep fake. It was something generated. You know, somebody did something, but it was really
I saw something today which was crazy. It was one woman in France. She was dating virtually with Brad Pitt, and she gave up some $800,000 thinking, and it was Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt kind of talked into it. And yeah, and later found that was just an AI kind of a guy just posing as Brad Pitt. It's crazy.
Okay, that's not creepy. That's just plain insane.
Yeah. I mean, it was dumb for sure, but still, people can, there are dumb people in the world. So.
Okay,
Can't.
we're more or less at the end of time.
Yeah.
Anyway, and your needs to go. So I want to thank the Tesseract Academy for hosting this with us. We'll try to do one of these at least once a quarter with them for follow-up, whatever. Feel free to reach out to us at cloudonics.com. Reach out on our Discord if you have questions about voice or other technologies, voice AI. We respond on the Discord fairly quickly, and as you can tell, we're fairly free with our opinions and our suggestions, even if it isn't directly for us.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you all for joining us.
Everybody,
Thank you so much.
Have a good rest of your
Thank
day.
you.
you too. Bye.
Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.